So, ladies and gentlemen, with me is somebody that is quite powerful. That I think we've become friends, and you will know the reason why towards the end of this episode. So we have Kisha Wynter. She's a leadership consultant, an executive coach, and global inclusion strategist for over 20 good years. She has all of that experience in corporate developing and training leaders across 50 countries. I don't even think I know 50 countries, but she's done that in over 50 countries plus. She's the founder and CEO of Winter Wynter Enterprise. To put it very clearly, in layman's terms, Kisha's goal and what she does is essentially to help people so that they can help those businesses. So essentially empowering talents both locally and globally. And she very much excels in that by changing the workforce and helping corporates create transformative coaching cultures. So thank you so much for joining this episode, Kisha.
I'm so excited to be here, Mahmoud.
All right, so I did a dig into your bio, and we share some kind of similarities in terms of me being an immigrant. I'm currently in the UK, and you have that very rich immigrant story, that underdog story that we all are basically. That's basically who we are. We don't have any other choice than to fight. So tell me, from you coming to the US with your parents from Jamaica, now working across 50 different countries, helping talent and businesses, how did you do it?
How did I do it? Well, I'm going to share how I did by telling a little bit about my experience and journey and background getting into corporate and what inspired me to do what I do now. And as you said, I came here, as a child. I'm from Jamaica, and it blows my mind. I look at myself now, it blows my mind. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like I've been able to work with not just a Fortune 500, but Fortune 20 companies. Coaching leaders, as you said, from over 50 countries globally. And now I'm running my own leadership development, consulting, and executive coaching firm, and about to release a book in the fall, September 17th, for people in corporate. So it really blows my mind that I was able to accomplish this. But if I look at myself 20 years ago, honestly, I never thought that leadership was in the cards for me. I looked up at the top of the organizations, and the people that I saw, they didn't look like me, right? They didn't sound like me. They didn't have my personality, because I consider myself a more introverted person. And so I didn't see myself reflected in leadership, and I thought I had to change who I was and not be authentic in order to step into this position of leadership. And a pinnacle point came for me back, I believe it was in 2006 or so, when an executive asked me, and again, I'm early in my career at this point, to go to his office and tell him my assessment of his talent, who all, by the way, had worked in corporate for much longer than I had. But it was my job. And so I walked into his office thinking to myself, like, oh my God, I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. I don't think I have any value to add to this conversation. Like, what am I going to tell him that he doesn't already know? So as I sat there in his office thinking all these thoughts, and really just feeling as if I don't belong, I just kind of pushed through anyway, and I started sharing my perspective. And there was a point in time that I was like so surprised, because I looked at him, and not only was he keenly listening, but he was furiously taking notes, Mahmoud. I was like, what is this guy writing down? I mean, like, nothing that I'm saying is that, mind blowing. It's kind of obvious, right? And we do this. We underestimate the brilliance that we bring to the table based on our life and corporate experience or professional experience, especially if we think we don't have enough or the right. But what seems easy to us is absolutely game changing for someone else. I'll never forget, after that meeting, I heard him like quoting me. Luckily, he also gave me credit in other. And I'm like, oh, and it was at that moment I realized that not only did I belong in the room, but I was quite capable of leading it. They say not only was I ready to play with the big boys like him, but they could learn a thing or two from me, just as I was learning for them. And so when we realize, and I talk a lot about imposter syndrome, but what we realize that the voice of self-doubt is a real imposter and not us, everything changes. And that is why I now do what I do, spend my time teaching corporate professionals how to step in their unique brilliance, how to own their power, and how to unleash it. And so that is the bottom line of everything that I do. We're going to talk about strategy. We're going to talk about all the things, but the number one thing I work on first is that mindset, because a lot of us have the training, the experience, but we just don't believe in the power and the value that we bring. And the impact that I want to make is help everyone, especially those that are unexpected. You call the underdog, regardless of your background, that you can step into those situations and recognize that you have value to bring and to own it.
Wow. You said so much there, and let me just try to unpack it. Now, there are several of us within the corporate, whatever walks of life that we are, especially people of color, we always feel out of place. And one of the things that we struggle with is self-doubt and imposter syndrome. And towards the very end, you talked about unleashing your potential despite having all of this, I would say, feelings, because I personally, based on my own experience, it's not real. It's just a feeling. You are the expert here, so you are going to tell me how that works. So how does overcoming self-doubt, imposter syndrome within corporates help you? How do you overcome that to be much more powerful, impactful, and overall fulfilled within corporate workplace?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I talk about really recognizing that the voice of self-doubt shows up often because we are stepping outside of our comfort zone and we're doing something new that we've never had before. And so I want to do two things by sharing that information. It's one, to recognize that it's normal. It's a normal thing, to normalize it, not to make you feel like, oh, I'm this odd, strange person. It's a normal feeling that everybody has when they're doing something new. So one, to not make it this weird thing, but to really normalize it, because when you normalize something, you take away the stigma. I call it normalize and destigmatize. Right? When I do speaking events in corporations, I'll never forget the first time I stepped on a stage, 500 people, executives, leaders, people of all, backgrounds across, like 40, 50 different countries. And I asked anybody if they've ever had a feeling of not being good enough. And like every single person, Black, white, Asian, Latino, put their hands up. They have, men, women. And I'll never forget when the CEO of the company himself, $1 billion organization, he put himself up himself. So I'm like, all right, everybody's hand is up. This is normal. But the second piece to remember to that, so everybody feels it, but why do they feel it? It's when they're stepping outside of their comfort zone and doing something new. And for me, that's something to celebrate, because it tells me you're not being lazy, you're not resting on your laurels, you're pushing yourself outside of your comfort zone. It means learning and growing and transformation is happening, right? The first time you present to a C-suite or an executive board, you're going to feel uncomfortable. It's not something that you do every day, but if you're presenting to your friend or whatever, you're not going to feel that uncomfortable, right? And so the first step is to normalize and destigmatize. And then once you're able to do that, I don't know if you have any reaction to that part.
Yes, I have like a very recent experience, and
Okay.
it's not like for like, but it's just in life generally. My wife talked about it yesterday when someone calls her and in our local language and they ask her that, so how is work like working with white people? That's what that's because obviously many of them have not been to this part of the world before.
Right.
And he said he said something very profound. He said, "Wow, so I actually have been working with white people. That is because she has done it for the past couple of years. She has overcame the first time of meeting people that didn't look like her, and she has very much normalized it that she doesn't even see the difference between herself and any other person in the room. That is because now she's much more in tune with what she does. She has demonstrated competency at work over and over again, and basically everybody's just having an intellectual conversation amongst themselves by breaking that first barrier for the first time. That is testing something very new. That's when she said that, I was like, wow, that's actually very true, because the ability to like do something very very first time, when you're about to experience or do something very very first time, you might actually feel out of place, but consistency over time allows you to be able to be much more effective and be able to be much more put together when you are in that particular environment. So that's what I pretty much noticed when it comes to people trying things for the very first time.
Yeah, you're building competency now. Now it's no longer, oh my God, this weird thing, right? And it makes sense, right? You're from Nigeria, a primarily black country. Like, you would never be working with people that are white or Asian, probably, or different backgrounds, right? So, and so while other people may think that's strange, I get it. Like, I didn't work. I wasn't old enough to work when I was in Jamaica, but I get it, coming from a primary black country as well. And so it's new. Whatever it is for you, maybe the people listening to it is something else. But once you do it, it's like learning to drive a car. The first time you try to drive a car, you're super nervous. You don't know what you're doing, or you don't but then, 15 years later, you just get in the car and you drive. You don't even think about it.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Now you built the competence, and it's now wired in your brain that it's second nature, and the fear doesn't come anymore. And that's the same thing with anything. And you said a really important point: repetition. It's a power. You've got to do it over and over and over. And by the time you do it over and over again, the fear is gone, because now you're not stretching yourself. So I tell people, fear is not something to be avoided. Actually, when it comes up, it tells you it's an opportunity to grow. And once you do the repetition over and over again, that thing you're no longer afraid of. So now you look for the new challenge, because we should always be challenging ourselves.
Yeah. You're very right about that when it comes to one challenging oneself. So now we're at the very beginning now. You are within the corporate environment as an employee, or whatever it is. You feel out of place. You feel self-doubt, and you talked about consistency builds competency for you to be able to get out of that situation. Now you're set up in the workplace. So let's move forward.
Yeah.
So what are the things that you now need to do to be able to be that standout employee, for you to be less invisible, get more credit for your work, be able to be promoted, for you to be able to negotiate a better raise, get paid better, essentially finding full fulfillment when you are within a work environment, after you've been able to, quote and unquote, get through the competency, get through the self-doubt and imposter syndrome loop. Yeah.
And I love how you said getting out of the loop. It is so once you're working through the internal work, and there's a lot more to that we could go through. Now I call that removing the internal barriers, right? The self-limiting beliefs. The second piece is now you got to actually have proven tactical strategies. And that's where I come in, because I was, as I said, I worked in corporate for 20 years and the last few years running this consultancy. And I had the privilege of sitting behind those closed doors where you have the C-suite leaders, the HR leaders, making decisions on promoting people. Why should we promote this person? Why should they be talented? Why do we think they're talented enough to get to that next leadership position? And here are the things, I have this framework, a proprietary framework called the D.I.V.A method. And it's a 4-step method. And for all the guys listening, it's okay. We could put the O instead of the A. So I say that all the time. For the
it's all right. It's all right. D.I.V.A is fine.
Right. It applies to you regardless of your gender. The strategies work. That's it. We want things that work. And so it's D.I.V.A 4-step. The first thing, I say this all the time. I know you'll get this as Nigerian. It's work hard, right? It's the deliver result. It's that piece. Like we all get this as, working class, middle class, immigrant, just people that are coming up. We all know that you got to work hard, no matter your background. Our parents taught us, if you want to be successful, you got to work hard. All right, there's a time and a place for that, which basically it's about delivering results, having a high say-do ratio, which means whatever you say you're going to do, make sure you deliver on it. You do it. You don't miss deadlines. If you have a budget to confine to work within, you hit those budget confines. That people can depend on you. And why that's important, that leads into the I, which is your brand. It affects what people say about you when you're not in the room. Because if you're not delivering results, if you're not somebody that's dependable time and time again, there's no formula that I or any other coach can do that's going to save you. That's the part you got to come to the table with. Now we can work on the other strategies, but it's like, in the U.S. basketball, right? If, LeBron James was not consistently a good basketball player, none of the companies that sponsor him would be willing to sponsor him. They know he's going to consistently deliver. They know he's going to, I'm from Jamaica. Usain Bolt was consistently running races and winning. So he was a good person for Puma or whomever it was. I don't even remember the companies that invested in him. All right. It's the same with us. Think of yourself as an athlete. Like, you're going to consistently be winning. You got to do the work to do that. So that's the first step. And I think that's what our parents taught us, is that piece. And I don't think we should throw that out. I talk about it, hard work is not enough. No, it's not enough. But it's the starting point. That's going to prevent you from getting fired, right? And it will allow you to get hired. All right. So once we have to have that taken care of, the I is for your brand. It's for your image. Right? Eyes for image, which is your brand. So if you think of anybody in the world, we just brought up Usain Bolt. All right, what do we think about him? So he's the fastest man in the world, right? Consistently delivers, right? He also is a charismatic guy doing the to the world sign, right? Like, he's confident, he's charismatic, he's the fastest man in the world, he's friendly, all the things. Right? You have the brand. Now, the question that we should be asking ourselves as corporate professionals, what do we want to be known for? Right? He's known for being the fastest guy. What do I want to be known for? And I had a friend who was a coach who asked me this a long time ago in my career. And I told her 3 things. I never remember the third. Clearly, the third wasn't that important. But the first 2 things I said is that I wanted to be known as a coach that allowed people to get better, right? To just really fulfill their potential. That's what I wanted to be known as, a coach, not a controlling or directing or commanding person, but somebody with a coaching style as a leader. And the second thing I said I wanted to be known for is to be inclusive, right? Like one of my big passions is around that global diversity. And if we're going to have diversity in workplaces, we have to ensure we have places where everybody, regardless of their background, feels like they belong and that they can contribute. And so inclusion, was one, and coaching was one. And I'll never forget, I did this exercise, which I would encourage everyone to do. So get your pen and paper out. This is like an actual tactical strategy, friends.
All right.
Is right, like, if you're listening, you want to know what your brand is, ask people. And I say, go and talk to people within your organization, people that you've worked with. So it could be your boss, peers, your clients, people that report to you. If you're a manager, it's like a mini 360. But send them a text message, send them an email. It doesn't have to be complicated. Just say, I want you to tell me 5 words, 5 different words to describe my strength, right? For me, it was honest, trustworthy, some other ones, but 5 words to describe yourself. And then 1 sentence, if I work on this one area in my life, in my professional life, it's going to make me that much more impactful. And the reason that works is people don't like to give development or tough feedback, but they love to tell you all the good things. So you give them an opportunity to say 5 great things, and all you're asking is 1 sentence for the development area. Usually people will be a lot more comfortable now to give you that feedback because they already just boosted your ego, right?
Yeah.
And so you do that, and then you ask about, I would say 7 to 10 people, no less than 7 to 10 people. Then you identify threads between, themes between all the feedback. And then you said, okay, what are the themes in terms of the things I do well? What do I want to be known for? What am I already known for? And what can I do to bridge the gap? Right? It's a very simple exercise. There are a lot of tools out there that do like much more quantitative 360 assessments, but this is the easy one, and I did it myself. And some of the feedback that I got, I said, okay, I love these strengths, and I want to double down on these because I'm a strength-based coach. So you're going to get more leverage on the things you do well to make that even better than overly focusing on the development area. Although you should focus on development, on the things that are key. And once you do that, then for me, when I did that, and I also combined that with what I want to be known for, 20 years later, I'm leaving corporate. And one of the leaders said to me, I enjoyed working with you because you taught me how to be a better coach as a leader, right? And you taught me how to be much more inclusive. I'm like, wow, that was something that I focused on, and other people felt the impact. And now that I'm doing a executive coaching and consulting business, I still get referrals from the different people I used to work with in my business because it's something that I am known for. It's part of my brand. And so that's an important exercise for you to do. The third piece is visibility. Remember, D.I.V.A. So visibility is about, okay, now you did all the hard work, you build your brand, right? But does anybody who knows you? Do anybody know you? Because you're not going to succeed if you're the best kept secret in town. That's what I say all the time. Like, you might be the best, but if nobody knows you're the best, then you're going to be in the same position as everybody else. So now you've got to come up with strategies to get people to be aware of who you are. So, do a good job for your boss, but other people besides your manager need to know you. I say 2 quick things you could do. 1, you could work on a cross-functional strategy or cross-departmental project where you have exposure naturally to different leaders. Leaders, if you're in, like me, I was in HR, work on a project that impacted other aspects of the business, maybe in finance, maybe in operations, maybe, so work on cross-functional projects so that more people can get to know you. If that's not an opportunity, go ahead.
On this part of visibility that you touched on, some people may actually feel overwhelmed that how do I work on cross-functional projects? I would even say there are even much more simpler things that you could do. And I learned this from back then. I was an assistant executive at a media agency in Nigeria, and the person I was reporting to was an executive, and everybody loved that. Honestly, everybody loved that. And we came in literally few days apart. I came in on Monday, she came in on a Friday or something, and everybody just like took to her, and we grew to be very close friends. And I asked her very simple, like, why do you know everybody? Like, she literally just knows everybody within the organization in the space of 2 months. And she said, it's very easy. Once you, and this was before COVID, so it might not necessarily apply, but there's a way you can do it virtually. She said, all you just need to do, once you come in the morning, once you make sure you come in early and just go around. Go to every office, every cubicle, just say hi. That's all. I was like, what? He said, yes. That was it. Because we come in like 9 a.m. in the morning, but oftentimes the senior executives, the guys that calls the shots within the organization, it feels like they sleep there because they come in like super early. Those guys are like super effective. So they come in very early. Probably they need to like get a lot of stuff done before they start bouncing into meetings after meetings. So that's the reason why they come in early and they close very late. So all she did for them to know her basically was just like every morning she just stands up from the desk and she just goes around, says hi to everybody, and she was basically on a first name basis for all of them. And how that basically helped was that then she started getting more insights into what they work and what value means to them, and how she can plug into their system. And what that helped out with was that because we're young, we made mistakes as executives. She never gets into troubles. She always gets like just a slap on the wrist. Don't worry, we have it covered. Don't do that again. And that was it. But you can go on, because I just needed to put it out there, is that it's usually not like the grandest of things. It's the little things that you put into like creating visibility for yourselves also help count in being much more visible within an organization. You can go on. Sorry for
no problem at all. That is absolutely easy. You know, it's an easy, simple thing to do, and I love it. I've had people do that. Drop by, say hi. It's a small talk. People that are more introverted may feel a little bit intimidated doing it, but if you have the personality for that, that's the easy way to do it as well. Go for it. And that's how you get on the first name basis with a lot of people, by using a strategy like that. And then the other piece I was going to say, in addition to, now you have the two, one from me, one from Mahmoud. The third one is, like, you could also look at extracurricular activities within your organization, right? There may be a women's group or different groups within an organization that are, volunteer. Like a lot of organizations, they do volunteer events. Why not be a person who organizes one of the volunteer events for your company? Why not be a person that's like volunteers to be a co-lead on your women's group, or the person of color group, whatever it is. I can't speak to what they have in the UK. I can only speak to what they have in the US, right? But I've ever heard they have volunteer groups, right? But know what these extra things are. And these are also informal ways, because now you're working with people, the leaders, that are also passionate about the things that you're passionate about, right? Because even if it's, let's say, the volunteer, everybody's clear that people at all levels are going to be involved in that, right? So that's going to be, but even if it's a women's group, guess what? They have a lot of senior male executives that will sponsor these groups as well. So just ensure that you're getting involved so that people can get to know you and get to know the quality of your work, that they not only like you as a person, but they know that this person is really good at this or that, so that when a position opens, that they are beginning to think about you. So that's the visibility. The A is the last one. It's your advisory board. I call it your personal board of directors. It's ensuring that you have different people on your board, that your crew, I call it your crew. If you're Jamaican, we say your posse or whatever. That might be an old term from the 90s. So sorry for all the Gen Zs with my outdated old people term. But the idea is that you have your folks that are going to advocate for you. So who should be in your advisory board? You should have a mentor. And everybody talks about mentors. I agree with mentors. And specifically, a mentor is someone who has experience in your industry or your situation or in your field and they have been successful. They can teach you the ropes, right? So that's really important. Second person you should have is somebody who is a sponsor. And sponsor is not talked about enough. I think people are finally beginning to talk about that now. Sponsor is someone that you need to have that is somebody with positional power that open doors for you that you can't open for yourself. When I say positional power, they're the hiring manager that are going to be able to say, you know what? Hire Mahmoud. Like, they don't got to talk to 10 people because they know that they're the one that they want. You're the one they want to hire. A lot of times people spend way too much time talking to people at their level or maybe one level up that really don't have that power. You want to ensure you get to know people that can, and that's how you make it easy. The people that are getting a lot of these jobs, they know the right people. And I know a lot of people are like, oh my God, this is so unfair. I'm like, okay, but that's the way of the world, so figure it out. Right? Work on getting, and I want to add this thing about sponsorship versus mentorship. There's a study that was done, I think it was by McKinsey, but it says that people of color and women are overly mentored and under-sponsored. And so I always want to encourage people. Yes, having a mentor or somebody to teach you is important, but you also have to know those people with power. And then the last one I'll add to the advisory board that you need is a coach, and that's what I do. It is that person now that can help you overcome really the self-doubt, the fear, other limiting beliefs. It might not even be self-doubt or fear, but it may be something else that's really getting in the way of you being, maybe it's bad habits that you need to break, maybe specific strategy to utilize your board. Maybe you do have the board, but you don't know how to utilize it effectively. Like, that person can help you put the strategies all together and also help you get out of your own way. So those are the 4 steps that if you able to master those things, then it's going to make your ability to succeed in corporate that much more powerful.
Good. You guys heard it. The D.I.V.A method. Thank you so much for that. And that's just one strategy, guys. It's a whole book, and it's coming on 17th of September. Your Power to Unleash by Kisha Wynter. I want you to take this time and not just tell people about the information about this, but give the opportunities to brag and shine. Let them know what's in it, what value is in it for them, what are they going to be getting out of it, and so on. So go for it.
Yeah, no, I love that you're giving me this opportunity to do that, right? As I said, the name of the book is Your Power Unleashed. And so that's the title, but the subtitle, every book always has a subtitle, is where you get the meat. What is it about?
Yeah.
It says it's about how savvy, and I choose every word intentionally, how savvy women use courage to get promoted, paid, and find fulfillment. Yes, the language is geared towards women, but frankly, anybody of any race, any gender, are going to be able to get benefits out of this book because every strategy in the book works for everyone. The reason I use savvy, I did it very intentionally, because I hear this a lot of time from people. Oh my gosh, like organizations, like I don't like, it's so political, and I don't like political stuff. And I'm like, okay, well, politics is happening. Politics happens everywhere. It happens in corporate, it happens in nonprofit, it happens in the political field, right? It happens
in your house.
In your house. It happens at church. It happens in the mosque. Wherever you are, it happens. And so it's not to avoid it, because if you're naive and avoid it, it's going to outsmart you. So the idea here is that you learn how to be savvy. It doesn't mean you're sleazy, but it means you're being smart and very strategic in how you navigate the system so that you can succeed. So why is success important to you? Why is winning at work important to you? You're going to get promoted, paid more. When you're paid more and you're promoted, guess what? You're providing for your family. You're giving your family and your children access to things that you may never had access to before. You're putting yourself in power, because when you have financial independence, like nobody can, you don't have to, you don't have to live to support the man, as they say, because you have financial independence. So this is about being smart. And that's what this book teaches you. It teaches you how to be smart. But then I say to use courage. And that's what we talked about in the beginning. It is about how to break out of this habit of fear and self-doubt and imposter syndrome and practice the habits of courage, because you can break it down in a skill set. So every day I'm going to take a courageous action so that I am more powerful and successful. And then promoted, paid, find fulfillment. We have a chapter in the book on how do you now salary negotiate, right? So a lot of people are underpaid at work. What are the strategies to negotiate your salary? How do you communicate effectively so that you can get the credibility, influence, respect that you deserve, right? And then finally, it's 10 chapters, right, in the book. But finally, I talk about, all right, once you're able to do all of that, we talk about the D.I.V.A method, we talk about communication, we talk about salary negotiation. How do you actually activate your own, as a leader, if you're a leader in an organization, how do you make that workplace more inclusive so that people from all backgrounds can succeed? So I tell people that last chapter, go give it to your manager. So give it to HR. They can help you with that chapter. But yeah, so those are all the things that you get out of the book. You're going to learn strategies that will help you succeed and win at work.
All right, you guys heard it from Kisha. Within the book, you learn about to be courageous. Essentially, you having all of this information makes you walk into every situation much more smarter, which goes into all facets of life. And you talked about the part that concerns everybody, which is the part of salary negotiation. So I want to paint a case study here. This is just like for fun. So, okay, my name is Mahmoud, and my co-workers just got promoted. Obviously, I didn't get promoted, and I felt, okay, I've been here and I've put in so much work in the last period in review for me to be able to be promoted. So what do I do? How do I approach that particular situation going into that meeting and say, yes, why am I not promoted? I need more money. What do I do in that kind of situation? Yeah, to my mind. Yes.
To understand why you did. It's important to have the discussion, right?
Yeah.
Right, because if you expected to be promoted, well, hopefully, like if you expected to be promoted and you didn't happen, others did, that the manager would be talking to you. Like, hopefully you don't have to initiate this conversation. But we get it. A lot of people, they don't actually like to have difficult conversations. So sometimes leaders will avoid it. And I tell people, you can't wait for things to happen. You have to own your career. You have to drive those discussions. So if it's not happening, I do think it's a very good case study and example. I say go in there, right, with the attitude, not like, well, you didn't promote me, so, right? It's more of a learning attitude, right? It's like, I expected, I was expecting that this cycle or whatever it is in your organization, that I would have been able to get to that next level and get promoted. So I want to initiate this conversation with you to understand what were the key factors that you considered that you think I need to improve on in order to position me the next time to get that to that next level. And ask for key factors, key skills. What's the gap? Because I want to ensure that I'm working on bridging that gap from now until the next time the decision-making process comes up, so that I can better position myself, right? And the word key factors or skills, those are really important, because you don't want like, well, we were just promoted. It wasn't like, the other people were stronger and so we decided to promote them. But don't worry, the next time we'll promote. Like, that's not, because you don't have tactical things. The goal of that discussion is that you want to have tactical things to work on. And so is it something as simple as you're not consistently delivering results? Maybe that's what is, you'll get the answer. Maybe it's that you're not effectively building relationships with key decision makers. Maybe it's that you're not effectively communicating your case, right? These are the things that maybe you don't actually have the domain expertise in your field, whether or not you're in tech, IT, or some other area. Maybe you do need to get more expertise in your area. And so you want to walk out of the discussion understanding what are the tactical skill sets that we're missing. And I would also ask for, okay, in addition to the tactical, the technical skills that we're missing, are there any interpersonal things that you think I need to work on, right? Because sometimes it's actually interpersonal. Maybe you lack self-awareness. Maybe the way in which you communicate to your peers is confrontational, or maybe you don't communicate to your peers and you lock yourself in your office and you're not talking to anybody. I don't know, right? But you have to ask both the tactical, technical areas and then the interpersonal skills, because they both affect your ability to get to that next level. And then once your manager communicates that to you, because I would say you want at least a couple of things to work on, then say, okay, I'm going to go back and think about what my strategy is to bridge this gap. And is it okay for me to come back to you and share what my thoughts are and to get your suggestion? Now, if they tell you what this is and in the moment you already know, then you could just say it in the moment. Just say like, all right, so I need to work on this. Here are my thoughts. I'll work on it by doing this project, or I'll work on it by speaking up more in meetings. Is there anything else you think I need to do you want to get their feedback? So you notice I didn't say just go ask them what to do, because you want to show you're proactive. So you want to show that you're coming to the table with thoughts on what you're going to do. But it's also very important for you to ask them, what else? What else do I need to do? Because they're probably going to have a list of things that they need to see you do. And you want to get the criteria from them, because they are the decision maker, not you. Once they give it to you, you work on them and you go back and you say, even if the promotion is not, another year from now, you don't want to be surprised again. So come back once a quarter or however, don't do it every week, right? That's annoying. But come back every quarter and say, okay, these are the things I've been working on. How do you think I'm doing against it? You want to keep that communication line open, because what I see is that because of a lack of communication, people are very surprised by decisions. And that should be the case. You should keep that communication open so that you're never surprised.
Guys, I tried my best. I'm not dragging out any more information out of this book. You need to go get the book. So please tell them, how are they going to get access to it? How are they going to be able to access your Power Unleashed online, on Amazon, the website? Just give them all the right places for them to get it. They have to pre-order, just let them get it, because I'm actually very interested, because I'm an employee myself, so I want to have as much information as possible to do better. So let's have it.
Yes. So first of all, get in touch with me. Kisha Wynter, you'll see the spelling of my name, Kisha and Wynter on LinkedIn. It's my favorite place to hang out. Find me on LinkedIn, DM me. I answer my DMs. I do communicate with people. My website is also where you'll find information to order the book. It's called yourpowerunleashed.org. And when the book is available for pre-order, it will be available on Amazon. Specifically, it will be also available on all other, like Barnes & Noble and all the places. But I know an easy one for people to remember will be Amazon. And that's where you can find my book, and you can find me. And hopefully you will reach out, send me a message on LinkedIn, DM me, follow me. I'm always posting there as well. So that's the best place to keep in touch.
Yes. You guys heard it. Yourpowerunleashed.org, and you can also reach out on Amazon. She's giving you all her socials. So I guess by now a lot of you would actually start seeing the quality of guests that we try to bring on here, because there is a part of empathy that this show really emphasizes on, and reaching out to people who understand what they are doing so that you can get as much value is one of the reasons why we set up this podcast. And everything that Kisha has brought on in here in terms of strategies, in terms of the references to other sources. I personally, if anyone else is listening, I've not gotten value. I personally have gotten value from this because I constantly believe you need to be optimizing to get the best version of yourself. So thank you so much for coming on this episode, Kisha. Now, I told you guys that there was a reason why there was something I was going to tell you at the very end. We did this before during the week, and I didn't record it. We had one of the best conversations I've had. I didn't even look at that episode from a perspective of a guest visitor podcast. It was an awesome conversation, and from even today is even just as good or even better, because the kind of examples that she even brought into there is something that if we recorded it on Monday, you guys probably missed out on it. So thank you so much, Kisha. Do you have any questions for us? Do you have anything you want to ask before we part ways?
No, I don't have any questions. I want to say that I am just really excited to see your journey as a podcaster and even as a professional yourself, because you have so much potential. I see that you are all in order to contribute to your community and the value that you bring, but even the strategies that you're using as an employee and you shared with myself and the audience are really powerful. And I wish I knew this myself 20 years ago, because 20 years ago, I was not having these conversations. And so you're learning all this so much earlier than I did. So you're going to be, ahead of the game, ahead of where I was. So I can't wait to continue to see your growth and trajectory. And while you were talking, in terms of additional value, I'm not sure when this podcast is coming out, but if it's before September 17th, and you want a free resource, I'm gonna, send you a link, Mahmoud, where you can share with your audience, and they can get a free resource that I have. It's a quiz that they can do to assess whether or not, where they stand. What's your likelihood of being promoted? How savvy are you at work? And it will give you a score of 1 to 10, and it will tell you if you're low. It's like, okay, you have a lot of work in these other areas. If you're at 10, it's like, okay, you're going to be on track. So just go have the conversation. So I'll share with you the quiz so that people can access that information.
All right. I'll obviously have your contact, so I'll be reaching out to you to get the link to that quiz. Thank you so much, and that's it for today. We had 45 minutes to talk, and it's almost an hour. It's I feel like it shouldn't end, but if we keep on talking, we're going to leak everything inside the book. So thank you so much, Kisha, and all of you that have stayed on to the very end. Thanks for joining. Thanks for listening to the very end. I told you when she said it, she said she was going to give value, and she did exactly just that. Thank you so much for joining, and this still remains How I Did It podcast with Mahmoud Olabi Kashia. Till the next one, it will be peace.